Patience, Iago, patience. Hi everybody, Jafar here. Welcome to the Daily Endeavours again for the 12th of April. We've got a 15 seal set. Timestamps will be in the description if you want to just fast forward to one in particular. The Golden Vendors up there, I just want to talk first about that. I know some people like to listen to me explain that stuff. I don't think there's anything worth it. This is most cases really, but I'll just still cover everything. So, Mother and Vulcan, I think these are actually quite good monster sets. It's only that as shoulders, I would say spending keys on shoulders, especially non-DLC ones, is, I think, better than spending hundreds of thousands of gold. Helms is a different story. But yeah, Vulcan's Courier and Swarm Mother, I like both of these sets. Swarm Mother, this is basically just a convenience set. Just chuck it on. Because nowadays, you can just chuck... every build has a relatively easy source of a pull skill. For example, Silver Leash here. 22 meters, the range of Swarm Mother is 22 meters, so they're the same. So we've got the same range, but the thing about Swarm Mother is it's just automatic, doesn't cost anything to pull them in. But it's only ranged enemies. But they're the ones you want to be pulling in anyway, right? So basically you get Swarm Mother, very easy dungeon to do, Spindle Clutch 1. So, easy to get the monster helm, easy to get the monster shoulders usually, and just chuck that on a tank that you just want to have like zero. If you've got zero brain power and you just want to do easy pugs, you just chuck this on and just hold block, and one by one, or if you manage to get the aggro over the ranged enemies, even if you're a damage dealer, I don't think it's too silly of an option. But you can just pull all the enemies in at no cost, just automatically. Obviously, blocking causes your stamina or magicka to go to the recovery to go to zero, so it's not super great. But it just means you don't have to think about it. You just enemies that hit you will automatically be pulled in, and you can just group up enemies really easily. But yeah, there's definitely better sets out there. But just for simplicity's sake, it's not bad. It's not terrible. Vulcan's Courier, probably one of the most reliable monster sets for solo play, because although it's damage over time, so it's not super, and like 8% chance is quite low. But the thing about the Vulcan Courier proc is the meteor that it applies follows the target. That is not the case for a lot of ranged monster sets out there. They're usually an AoE in the ground, and that means in solo play, when you're moving around a lot, it's going to mean that no matter what's going on, the meteor is always going to hit its target. Whereas things like Narayanth, Yalnar's Nightmare, they're ground targeted, so it is easily possible that the enemies could move out of the area. I don't know if Kjalnar is... I'm pretty sure Kjalnar is like a ground targeted one. That or it hits the target itself. I don't know. Yeah, Vulcan's Courier, City of Ash 2, a little bit of a long dungeon, but relatively easy these days to complete with a decent group. So getting access to this set is relatively straightforward. But again, I wouldn't really buy the monster shoulders just because it's easy to get them with keys. But yeah, Vulcan's Courier is personally one of my favorite sets. It's something that I use on most of my damage dealers, especially in solo play, just because it just fire and forget. You don't have to worry about positioning. Just very easy to get good value out of this. It's just that 8% chance is just quite low. Dragon Knights, they get it probably the best because they have so many damage over time options, but some of the other classes like Sorcerers and Nightblades, they tend to struggle just a little bit more. But I still use this on my Nightblade and my Sorcerer personally, just because of how easy it is to use. So yeah, definitely a good set. Just again, wouldn't really recommend it as a shoulder for just buying with gold. Alright, Light Speakers, wouldn't ever really suggest looking at this set just because you don't... Okay, so weapon and spell damage does impact your healing, something people might not be familiar with. Weapon and spell damage does directly scale with all your healing as well. So this does impact the healing done of your abilities, but so there's 6 skills that are impacted by this. And normally as a healer you've got 2 bars. So it's not a good idea to focus entirely on the healing of your rest of staff abilities, because most classes are going to have their own heals and they don't benefit from this. And 2, it's kind of overkill. You don't usually struggle healing a group effectively, just like we're pumping 5-piece sets to increase your healing done, it's not really going to be worth much. You're better off getting things that support your team in other ways, like damage and sustain and stuff like that. Like healing is usually not a thing you need to bump up in, because like your other sources, like your champion points, the like, yeah, you just not really going to struggle getting enough healing done. Like maybe PvP sort of, you could make the point that it might be good for burst healing, but I don't find that restless staff heals are really stuff you use as much in PvP compared to PvE anyway. So yeah, I personally wouldn't look at this set. If you get it in Elden Hollow 1 or 2, yeah, it's just a good idea to deconstruct or sell it, I think, just because there are so many other better options out there that can keep your team alive. Especially things like even things like prayer and combat strategist and stuff like that, I think is just better because, you know, giving teams shields to be able to react, have more time to react to incoming damage is better than just being able to heal them up, I think. But yeah, not a big fan of this set myself. Yeah, not much else to say really. So Lich, on the other hand, this is another dungeon set. This comes from Crypt of Hearts. This is decent. For a backbar of PvP set, maybe PvE too if you're doing like solo, like difficult solo stuff, it's not a terrible option. You get a lot of magical recovery. It's a little bit, I'm pretty sure has it been nerfed? I'm pretty sure it was higher at some point. And yeah, maybe, I'm not sure. But yeah, in its heyday back in the day in PvP, this was a really strong set that Magicka builds would use on the back bar, because what you can do is you don't have to double bar this. You can just put it on the back, and once your Magicka goes low, you just cast Magic ability on that bar. Oh god, excuse me. You can cast a Magicka skill on the back bar. It'll get this to fire off, and then even if you don't have the 5th piece active, the magic recovery will still apply for that 20 seconds. So it's as good as a double bar set, which is what you want in things like PvP, where double barring sets with a mythic is king. So it's a decent set, but Crypt of Hearts 1 is so easy to do. Buying a gold ring for 200,000 gold, not worth it, I think. Weird Tree, this is also a really good PvP option that has just unfortunately been outshined by things like Rallying Cry in recent times. Especially on like builds that rely mostly on stamina for their damage, because what you can do is they don't have as many Magicka abilities. So what you can do is you can have this on the back bar, have one Magicka skill that sort of you can, I guess, time it better, because that's the issue. You can't really, if you have a lot of Magicka abilities, you can't really time this well. Because the idea is it's all negative effects, so you want to be able to time this when you have the most negative effects on you. And if you're just casting lots of Magicka skills willy-nilly on that bar, it's just you're going to fire this off when you don't want to. So that's the only thing about it. But it's a decent PvP option. But again, this comes from... Does this come from... Hold on. Does this come from Glenumbra? Yeah, Glenumbra. So really quite a common place for people to get the jewelry for. So again, wouldn't really buy this for gold, because yes, you'll probably see a lot of these on guild stores anyway. Yeah, we've just got the Witchman left. So you know that meme of the dude like, "Who are you?" and the other guy goes, "I'm you but stronger." DK, a Dragonite say, "Who are you?" and then this says, "I'm you but weaker." It's just a less powerful DK ultimate, basically. The Mountain's Blessing passive, I believe it is, for Dragonites, where they just get ultimate. Whenever they cast ultimates, they get resources back. Same thing, but I think this is just a weaker version. Wouldn't rely on this. The biggest gripe I have with this is, say you have just gotten ready to do a fight against like a big enemy, and you want to cast your ultimate at the start of the fight, and that's going to mean you're wasting all the sustain that you get from this at the start of the fight when you want to use your big ultimate. Just means sometimes you're kind of wasting it when it's not really viable, or not so much viable, just as practical to do so. Other than that, it's just, yeah, there's just better options out there. You don't really want to be, because tanking, most of the time people want you to be running buff sets. It's okay as a selfish option, and it's okay as an easy to get selfish option, but yeah, probably get rid of this, I'd say. and get other stuff. Because in when it comes to tanking in PvE and PvP too, I suppose you'd want to be running like support sets to buff your team's damage and stuff. Because then you're spending less time worrying about your sustain and more time just having the enemies die faster anyway. So yeah, don't really suggest this either. So yeah, that's everything related to the Golden Vendor. So let's get into the endeavors now themselves. So we got 15 seals, killing foes with weapon abilities, crafting items with provisioning. Always love this one. Volcanic Vents, capture one town, Cyrodiil, and 2 stages in the Infinite Archive. Pretty good set. This one requires High Isle to do, or Firesong, one of those 2 DLCs. This one here, though it is base game, I would say avoid this one. This one sucks. Towns of Cyrodiil, there's only 3, and I mean there's 9 in total, depending on if you're low level or not. But like, it's kind of counterintuitive to how you want to do this. When the easiest time to get to a town, like the fastest way to get to one, is one you own, but you can't take one that you own. So you're kind of screwed over there. And then ones that are under enemy control, you have to be able to travel to them, and sometimes it's really impractical to do so. So it's very dependent on how the campaigns are currently going for how quickly you can do this. Right now, it could be quite convenient getting to Bruma, but the issue is, if players are there and like you're not good at PvP, you're just going to get killed and you're going to have to respawn and try it again. Whereas these other options here, it's very, very difficult to lose in the first 2 stages of Infinite Archive. Like, you have to be really unlucky or just like have a build that really doesn't work to fail this one. Whereas players do not fuck around. They're a lot smarter than like AI is, and just, yeah, it's just a whole thing. And yeah, these ones here are very, very difficult to fail as well. Like this one, Volcanic Vents are tougher than like just killing enemies with weapon abilities in the Infinite Archive early stages, but yeah, this one's not too bad either. Because when this one's up, there will usually be a lot of people running this anyway. So, alright, so let's... I'm going to start with items with the provisioning skill. It's one of my favorites because of how easy you can get this to just... You can do this for free at any time. So I'll show you how. I know most people know about it. Alright, so first thing you're going to need is 2 recipes. Get these from any chef in the game. Hizala, for example, will be found here south of Volgogard. You want to come here anyway for the rest of this, how I do this endeavor. So you need baked apples and you need banana surprise. As long as you've got these 2 recipes, you're all good to go. And yeah, once you've bought them, you don't need to buy them again. And that's the only thing that will cost gold. So about a 500 gold investment early on, and then from that point you can do any craft items with provisioning or crafting with any skill for free relatively quickly. So where you want to go is to the same place you get the anniversary Jubilee stuff. So where you get the cake to do your tickets, same place. So you get these bananas here, these apples in this tray. Just going to move a little bit, get it. There's this apple basket here, you want to grab from this, and this apple basket over here. Some of this stuff will not be, not have anything in it, don't worry, that's normal. You can come back here if there's not enough stuff anyway. I'll show you how. So, let's come over to this cooking station here, and just craft as many items as you need, in this case 5. Now you might not need to craft 5, if you get higher level in provisioning, eventually you can get the chef and the brewer passives. These increase the amount of items you get each time. Good to get these because whenever the crafting with any skill endeavors come up in the weekly, means you can do this as well, and just it takes less time doing it in total. So yeah, really helpful. So yeah, super easy to do this one. Now if there's not enough stuff, like if you get, sorry, the mouse really moved around there. If you get really unlucky and there's not enough stuff here to craft 5 items, don't worry. All you have to do is go to either leave the zone, so you can use Volgogard's Outlaws Refuge, which counts as leaving the zone. You can go to the Way Shrine and come back from another zone, and that will reset everything. But if you're over level 10, you can also use Imperial City. This is the fastest way, I think. So queue for Imperial City, wait for the queue to pop, enter Imperial City, and as soon as you get in, you turn to find the exit, and you just leave that way. So on the map, just look for this circle thing here, so just go to that. And what this will do is it will leave the zone, but it will put you straight back to where you were in Auradon. Because wherever you end up, wherever you queued into Imperial City from, once you leave, it'll take you straight back to where you were. So as you can see, everything's reset, so you can grab from that. You can grab from that apple basket there, and then you can grab from this one. So yeah, a very, very simple way to just reset everything there and just do it again. So that's all you need to do for provisioning, I think. Okay, so now I will discuss weapon abilities and stages in the Infinite Archive at the same time. So, weapon abilities, there's a couple of things you want to understand here. Weapon light attacks and heavy attacks don't count for this, so if your kills get if you get kills on enemies with those, it won't count for this, which is annoying, but yeah, nothing you can do about that. Status effects, proc stats, anything else aside from anything within these 6 skill lines here, getting a kill will not count. So you want to just avoid having any proc stats. Things like Auto Wrath are great because it just buffs the damage of your abilities instead of just applying a bunch of damage. So then when it comes to using weapons, I would advise going to a place where lots of enemies will clump up. I'll show you the best example I usually go for killing a lot of enemies quickly, and try instance areas, because if you go to a place where there's another player and you're both killing the enemies, if they get kills with their weapon abilities, it won't count for you. So it's counterproductive doing it in a group. So it's best to just do this in an instance area where you don't have to have other players coming in and taking stuff. You can just kill it yourself and it'll be ready for you. You don't have to wait for anything. So it's just more efficient for you to do it that way. But because it's 2 stages in the Infinite Archive, I would suggest doing your 2 stages first. So Infinite Archive, this is a free option here. It's base game. You don't need any DLC. Even though it's in Necrom, go to any way shown in the game, find this in the world map, Apocrypha. It'll be in this section here. You just travel to it via Waystone. Don't really need the quest for this. If you haven't done it yet, if you haven't done all the Golden Pursuit stuff yet, there is one thing to defeat Zoat in the Infinite Archive one time, and that is to get to the final boss of the Ark. So you do 2 stages a cycle, 2 stages a cycle, 2 stages a cycle, 2 stages, and then it'll be this boss here. So if you want to do that, you can as well, to do 2 things at once. If you do end up doing that, just make sure you get the quest, because the quest asks you to do the same thing. So it's just, yeah, a lot of convenience there. But if you're just doing 2 stages, don't worry about that. It'll take just a few minutes if you want to just do 2 stages. So when it comes to damage skills, what I would recommend is, because you're going to do places where there's just like lots of enemies at once, you want to prioritize getting lots of AoE. So each of the 4 main weapon skill lines, I'm not going to count One-Handed Shield and Resto because they're not built to deal damage. Each of these skill lines has Destruction stuff has 2, but I don't use Impulse. I just use Fall. But the other 3 have 2 skills that you can use that deal good AoE damage. Two-handed, you've got Stampede, the morph of Critical Charge, and you've also got Cleave. These 2 here are good as, so this one's your damage over time and this one's your spammable. Dual Wield, you've got this one requires a fair bit of leveling up, but Blade Cloak is great because it's a AoE damage over time. Then you've got Whirlwind for AoE spammable, and Whirlwind's probably one of the best weapon skills in the game for this, because you've got Steel Tornado, which has quite a big radius, can hit a lot of targets at once, and you've got Whirling Blades, which is an execute, so you can just take the kills of many enemies, especially if you do end up, unfortunately, getting into a place with another player, and you just need to really get those kills from them. Unfortunately, competing, but yeah. If you've got no choice in that matter. And then Bow, you've also got Volley, which is your damage over time, and you've got Arrow Spray, which is your spammable. Not a big fan of Bow, though, because enemies will be coming after you, like running up to you, and this is like a cone. So if there's enemies to your right and left, sometimes you won't be able to hit them. So I'm not a big fan. I like Volley. I think Volley's really good, but I like Bow on the back bar. I either like Destruction Staff on the back bar if you're Magicka, or I like Bow on the back bar if you're Stamina mostly. Because yeah, Volley into Arrow Barrage, really good because it's got quite a large radius as well. But yeah, nothing wrong with End of Sail either. Both of these morphs are really good. Yeah, my preferred setup for this is a full stamina build using Bow and Dual Wield or Two-Handed Dual Wield. That's my preferred. Nothing wrong with Destruction Stuff though. Dual Wield basically on the front, regardless, because Whirlwind and Blade Cloak are just such good skills together. But here I've just got Destruction front and then Two-Handed back. if you can get infused two-handed weapon on the back bar, any two-handed weapon, bow, destruction staff, great sword, doesn't matter. Just have infused with the weapon damage enchantment, because this gives you a crazy buff to the amount of damage you can do. Alright, so let's start this off. So, Infinite Archive does not give you many enemies, but it's just good to get this out of the way first. So, group up all the enemies onto the ranged enemy, because the melee enemies will come to you, the ranged enemies will try to run away. So, it just means you're dealing less with the enemies that run away, and the enemies that run to you will just get killed anyway. Alright, so I only got one weapon ability kill there, because I derped out and used Strife. Yeah, definitely do this to try and get as many weapon skills as possible. If you see a low health enemy, just start spamming one of your weapon ability spammables. So this guy here, I'll just start spamming it. Okay, got one there. Now, Cleave is an interesting one, because so this attack is always a critical strike. So it could be really good as an alternative to your spammable. Okay, this is quite brutal. Low level character, you know how it is. Yeah, in Infinite Archive, these rounds will be a little bit tough, but just keep kiting enemies, that's all you need to do. We've got another one with that guy. Alright, so what I'll do is I'll try and conserve a bit of stamp, and now I'll just start spamming Cleave. Oh, sorry, Critical Rush. Because yeah, that crits every single time, so it's just good for dealing a bunch of bursts quickly. Tempest. So the only issue here is if you want to get weapon kills, you don't want to be using this stuff. But Tempest is good, so I'll use Tempest. And if you time it right, you can still just make sure your weapon spambles get all the kills just before Tempest kills them. So I'll wait to the last wave, because the last wave is always the one that has the tougher enemy in it. So it's just good to wait until then for your if you get Tempest. Most of the other ones, it doesn't really matter too much because they last. They're like an automatic thing. The Tempest is a thing that you cast. Alright, these things here, you can either block or roll dodge when they do the gap close. Oh, interesting. Alright, almost there with weapon abilities. Yeah, there we go. So, if you don't block that, it just knocks you over, that's all. Alright, so we're going on the big boy. Group up the enemies on the ranged enemy. Try to avoid as much damage as you can. I know it's a little bit difficult on these rounds, but just keep kiting the enemies that you can. Nice. And now I'll just start spamming Stampede. Done. So that's your 2 stages. Quick to do, and we've almost done our weapon abilities too. So even if you don't get many weapon abilities, don't worry too much. Just get a few here, so it just means that you're spending less time later. Doesn't matter here, you can keep going, but at this point you're done with Infinite Archive, so you can just leave. Last thing I should point out is ultimates. Lacerate, I think, is a good ultimate. Destruction Staff ultimate is the GOAT. This thing is fucking great. So if you can get that, it's great. If you're doing solo stuff, probably... I personally think Eye of the Storm's better, just because it comes with you, so you don't have to worry about where it's positioned. Because most classes, even on like... that's why I like Dual Wield too, because wherever you're going to hit people with Whirlwind, this is applying at the same time. So, yeah, that's great. Don't like the bow ultimate because it's single target, and same thing with the two-handed ultimate, single target. You don't really want to use that. Lacerate or Destruction Staff ultimate, I think, are the best options. Alright, so if you want to do the rest of your weapon ability kills, my only real suggestion here is come to Wayrest 1. I'm sure most people know about this now, but there is a house here called, yeah, there it is, Gardner House. So if you don't have access to Wayrest 1, if you've queued for this dungeon before in a random normal, you'll have it. But if you don't, just go to Browse Homes and Home Tours, go down to the G key, Gardner House, this one. Travel to anybody's Gardner House that they have. Just exit out the front door, you'll rock up in Wayrest, just come down, I think there's a stairway here, so you just come down here, and just come down here, and Wayrest 1 will be here. get the way shrine for Wayrest too is pretty helpful. Yeah, once you've unlocked this for the first time, you can travel to it from any way shrine, so it's really easy to get to. The reason we want to come in here is these skeevers all over the place. So group up these skeevers together. So let's run them over here. To this group here. Figure. Stampede, leave, and just dash royalty. Over and over. And that's a great way, because these skeevers are super duper weak. A couple of whirlwinds will kill them usually, maybe even one. So yeah, that's usually my suggestion here. You can also use things like, you know, you can use public dungeons. You just might see players in there, that's the only issue. You can use dolmens too, because it's only 15, so it's not a big deal. You can use Scourge Catacombs. Basically, you'll get everything you need in the first 2 rooms. So yeah, just bunch of options here that you can use that work well. But yeah, I don't really think you can go wrong with Wayrest this one, just because the skeevers are so weak. They're easy to kill. As far as sets go, also if you accidentally mess up your kills there, you've also got a bunch of weaker enemies here too. They're noticeably tougher than the skeevers, but yeah, you've got this group here and then this group here. Wouldn't fight this guy here because it's a boss and he's got millions of health, but yeah, after that, don't really worry. As far as sets go, can't go wrong with Order's Wrath. Some other things that work really well is Shattered Fate. Hold on, I'll bring up my faster. Fate is great. Red Eagle? Yeah, Red Eagle increases the damage to your weapon and weapon abilities, but just increases the cost of them too. I still think Order's Wrath and Shattered Fate is still better, but this isn't a bad option either. And yeah, things like Mother Sorrow, Spriggan, easy to get your hands on, and they just buff the damage that your abilities do. So things like that can help. Just basically don't run things like, you know, Whirl of the Depth, because that's a proc set. Things like Venomous Smite. Basically anything that says when you do this, this happens and it deals damage. Those are proc sets, so you don't want to use those. Alright, so Volcanic Vents, last one. So you need the High Isle or Firesong DLCs, as I said before. So in order to find them, they have the same icons that Dolmens or Dark Anchors do in base game zones. So it's the thing here. There's 7 in total in High Isle. You've got 4 in Gonfalon. Is the whole island called Gonfalon? I'm not too sure. But yeah, you've got the mainland here. You've got 4. And then in Amenos, you've also got 3. So you've got these 3 here. So, and then in Galen and Ifelon, I think there's 5. So you've got 1 here, 1 here, yeah. Well, there might be 4. Yes, so there's a couple less than in High Isle, but I think these ones will be easy to get to. But I know not as many people have the High Isle as the Firesong DLC. Regardless of whichever way you do it, what I would suggest you do first, if you see one that's right in front of you, go for it. But if you find all of the, if you actually go and discover them, so run over to them and discover them on the map, what it'll do is, whichever one is currently up at this time, it will come up with a little twin swords icon. So I'm just going to wait for it to show, because I think the one up here just went away. You can use, like, if you don't actually have them, if you haven't been to them, they won't show up like this. I think some people might, if you played at like an earlier time in the game, I think there was like some sort of bug that caused all the locations to actually show up. But if you make a new character, it doesn't anymore. But so basically, find the wayshrines that are near all of these different volcanic vents, and then use that to get access to them easily. So you want this wayshrine for Sapphire Point. For the Nevia one, you want this one. Goat's Rest for Goat's Rise. Goat's Rest, Goat's Rise. That's funny. And then for these ones here, you want these two. Are these? Sorry. Yeah, you want these 2 wayshrines here, basically. This one's also not too bad either. But yeah, at least these 2. And then you'll be able to access all of them quite easily. They are more difficult than Dolmens, I think. Noticeably more difficult. There's not a lot of enemies. There are a few, but they're mostly just like a couple of tough enemies. Is it too... It's really loud. Hold on. Okay. Okay. So
what will happen is it'll start with these lava pools spawning a couple of enemies, and with each pool you get just like small waves of enemies, and then eventually you'll get tougher enemies like these iron atronachs, and then you'll get a hive golem. The hive golems are quite tough. They have like a heavy attack which hits like a truck, so you got to be a bit careful. So if you see the heavy attack icon, bloody block or roll dodge it. It takes a couple of seconds to come out. It's not like a normal heavy attack, so you just got to be a bit careful. Once you've done that, these things will seal up, and then you go to the next one, and vice versa. Over time, you'll see these sort of semi-transparent fire atronachs. If they get to these open lava spaces, they will turn into like big fire atronachs, and it's a lot harder to kill them. So you want to kill them before they reach their proper stage. So they're the two main mechanics. And there's also meteors running around. Once you close up all three of those lava pools, the main boss will come out. The main boss is quite tough. While you fight the main boss, after a certain amount of time, the main boss will spawn a bunch of little ones. These main bosses, they're not like some of the other main bosses where they gain like damage immunity. Not all of them. I think 1 or 2 do, but not all of them. So yeah, that's it. Because there's so many players here, you're probably not going to struggle doing these. Because yeah, you give it a couple of minutes when you're here, and there'll just be a ton of players coming in. So once it's done, you'll get this volcanic cache. You just dig this. It's literally just a chest. That's all this is. And you get some stuff. You get basically some sellable loot, some brittle molten rock. Sometimes you get more expensive stuff to sell. You get a set item in Jury. You can get a lead for the ring of the Oaken Soul ring. So yeah, here we go. So for the Oaken Soul ring, Volcanic Vents and High Isle and a Menos Zone. This is part of Oaken Soul, which if you want a mythic, this is probably one of the like ones on the higher end of the spectrum, just because you can chuck this on a necromancer. I mean, you can chuck on anything, but a sorcerer or arcanist, and they just like, you can just make a really simple build where you basically just press a couple buttons and you do tons of damage. So yeah, that's one thing, and that's kind of one of the more annoying things to get, I think, as far as Oaken Soul goes. Because yeah, like doing because there's one where you got to loot a bunch of safe boxes in a certain zone. That one's nowhere near as difficult as I found. Wait, is that one of the ones for? I need to check. Sorry, hold on. Yeah, the safe boxes in Murkmire. So that one used to be a pain in the ass, but it's not really that bad anymore. But the other ones are a boss in Stormhaven, so just a mud crab boss, and then you get blacksmithing nodes in Glamra, and then any monster in Melvar Tor. So you need Murkmire and High Isle in order to access Oaken Soul, which is kind of annoying, but yeah, Oaken Soul itself is really good. So one last thing to point out here, what I would do is maybe stay at the Way Shrine or stay at the actual vent until you see the next one show up, because sometimes if you clear one, it will immediately do the same vent the second time. It's not like Domins where it's like a cycle. It's completely random which one shows up, and the same one can actually go up twice. And yeah, so you don't want to just run away from the place. You want to just at least wait to the Way Shrine, because yeah, so if it comes up again at the same spot, you just run back, and you're not bloody running from 2 different places. So yeah, just keep that in mind. And if you want to get to Amenos, to get here for the first time, this boat here, there's like a little boat that you can interact with when you get to this spot. They will take you to Amenos. I think there's other ways, like quest related, but yeah, that's the way if you don't have anything else. If you just get here for the first time, so yeah, just look for that dock icon there. So if you got any other questions about any of this stuff, just let me know. But yeah, that's Endeavor's done. I think these 4 are just really good. Like because I know some people will be like, oh, you can do this as quick as a volcanic vent. Yeah, but here's the thing: if you die at a volcanic vent, you can just respawn at the vent with a soul gem. Whereas with towns, if you die, you have to respawn somewhere else usually, because if a player kills you at a town, you can't just respawn on the spot. You have to respawn at different location. So it's just a lot more of an inconvenience trying to do towns than it is trying to do volcanic vents. The only thing, obviously, is the DLC required. But yeah, if you don't have this, just do the other 3. They're still really easy. All right. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for your support as always. I'll see you next time, and take care.